Hello again, my MMA true believers. This is Jason Burgos for Sherdog.com, and I'm joined tonight by a man a week away from a key moment in his young career. He competed last year in Dana White's Contender Series, and while victorious, he did not receive a contract on that night. Now, he once again will step into the Octagon on a Tuesday night, looking to score the opportunity that eluded him a little over a year ago, and that man is the 8-2 Jordan Williams. Jordan, thank you for talking to me now, just like a week or so away from this really big second foray into the Contender Series.
Yeah, man, of course, no problem. Thanks for having me on the show tonight.
It's my pleasure. Now, first, talk to me about your path to MMA. You know, I saw you wrestle since second grade, which is pretty wild for me, and pretty awesome. Were you always a fan of the sport? You know, was that always a goal to eventually get into MMA? You know, or was it more of a thing like your amateur wrestling career finished, and then this seemed like the next best transition? What's your story in terms of bringing you to MMA?
Well, yeah, like you said, I started wrestling at a very young age. Second grade is when I first stepped onto the mat. And my transition into fighting wasn't even my idea. It was a friend of mine. He was my best friend. He's my best friend, Dylan, and he had been training at this gym that was literally almost right across the street from me. But we were competing in college wrestling, and I had a deal with UC Davis, and UC Davis said you get a 3.0 for one full year at a junior college instead of the usual 2-year deal. He said that I will get a full ride scholarship.
Nice.
I was like, okay, cool. So I get a 3.0 the first semester, and also I get a phone call from the head coach, Lenny Zaleski. He's like, hey, sorry, we can't honor our promise. You know, we're cutting the wrestling program due to lack of funds. I was like, what? All right. So at that point, I had already started fighting. Like I said, a friend of mine, he told me that I should start fighting because they really liked him, and he had been fighting or wrestling for like half as long as I have. Like, you know, they like me because my wrestling skills. I know they're really like, you should come in and try it out.
Yeah.
So I did. I tried it out, and I fell in love with it right away. And when I was falling in love with it, like that thing that happened with UC Davis popped up, and they said we can't afford your 4-year scholarship. So I just decided to transition to fighting instead of teaching wrestling.
Did you have any fighters that you liked, you know, growing up at all? Maybe not in MMA, maybe in boxing like that. Any kind of fighters that inspire you, that you even, you know, feel like inspire you now in your fighting career?
Well, back then I really was amused with the Anderson Silva fights. I remember clutch fights that he had. I always loved his striking and what he did, and then that memorable moment when he tapped Chael Sonnen with that triangle choke in the last like 10 seconds of the fight. I was really excited for that. Yeah, I mean, that was like one of my favorite. I mean, I hated the fight as it's going on. Oh, he's gonna take it down. Oh, come on, stop the takedown. Oh, he didn't stop it. Oh, he's gonna lose. He's gonna lose.
Yeah.
And then he that triangle choke at the end and fucking came up with it. So that's one of my fighters that I really enjoy, that helps me, you know, realize that, oh, that'd be cool. This could be cool to get into it.
Now, going into your career, you've competed for Bellator twice, getting stoppage victories in both fights. Bellator is a promotion that always seems to be in need of rising talent, yet it seems you were not offered a multi-fight deal. First, have you ever been told by Bellator's officials, you know, why you didn't get a deal? If not, do you have any ideas why? Because that's crazy. You got 2 stoppages, a rising star, you're on a Contender Series. Clearly, people know how good you are and how talented you are, that you didn't get a deal with them.
Yeah, no, there's a little bit of question that rises up in my mind. Like, is it because I'm a diabetic? Is it because, you know, my management told them after each one of those fights last year after my Bellator fight, I did have a Contender Series fight
Yep.
on a late notice, but it was right. It was like within a month after that fight. So maybe my management had said, "Hey, like we're like, let's just do this free agent contract to them, so that because we're keeping his options open." I don't know. Before this last Bellator fight, that was the case. I wasn't really too vocal about it, about my plans after Bellator, because I like to stay in the moment and take it one fight at a time. Tell me, like, hey, we're gonna have you have a little tune-up fight in Bellator, and then after that, we're planning on you fighting on the Contender Series in July. So, whether my management has a pull, whether they get them a hold on that contract, or whether they're just not interested in me as a multi-contract level fighter, I don't know. Hopefully this next fight will answer the questions for both organizations. I mean, I love that UFC contracts, but I think, yeah, you bring up a good point. It's a point where it's like, hey, I'm getting finishes. I'm on a 4 knockout win streak, and like, what is it that's withholding me to getting that multiple deal contract?
Is it at all frustrating? Because it doesn't seem like it's necessarily you. I mean, it's your management, and they're looking out for your best interests, or it could be Bellator being odd or weird or misinformation. I mean, is it frustrating for you because every fighter is in this game to make money? Of course, everybody wants to go to UFC. That'd be the perfect situation, but you still want to make money. You want to set up your future, set up your life. Is it frustrating then and disappointing to not get that multi-fight deal? Which it's a great platform, a lot of chance, a much better chance to make extra money, better money. Did it ever get to you at a certain point, or because the contender series fights came so quickly after, it really didn't maybe bother you that much?
Yeah, I was definitely feeling. I mean, I think I was first off too excited to really take into consideration. I mean, I'm getting wins on these big stages, and I was just really amped up and happy about that. But the part is, yeah, we were in this game to make money and multiple deal contracts. So on some level, if you think highly of yourself, you're gonna have to hold some frustration as to point like, what is it gonna take to get uh, some proper recognition and certainty that you're gonna get another fight, because you can do a single fight contract with the UFC on this Dana White Contender Series and you win, great. Like, but last year I didn't get that multiple fight contract, so now I'm stuck in here wondering what's next for me. And same thing goes with Bellator. I'm having these fights, I'm winning, but after that first one, I wasn't really in store what's next for me, which is a really uncomfortable feeling for someone who's trying to keep their career blossoming and growing.
Now, I just mentioned before, oddly enough, after both times you fought for Bellator, you got the Contender Series opportunity. Now, before we get back to that, the specifics and the finer nuances of what happened in that first fight on the Contender Series, you told the Body Lock in April you felt you lost that fight, not lost that fight, but didn't get the contract because you went for a takedown and pounded him out on the ground and did that instead of, say, staying on your feet and finishing it. In episode 1 this season, it was a lot of brouhaha about Dana White, saying that someone didn't, go for the finish and they went for a takedown with 10 seconds left. And he doesn't like that. He wants killers and stuff like that. Because of something like that and your previous experience where even you feel you probably should have maybe stayed on your feet, is there like an inner pressure or just a feeling that you need to win this fight on the feet impressively and maybe not take it to the ground or take it to the ground may not be in your best interest? Is there like because you don't, a chance to get a third chance in the Contender Series is probably unlikely. Do you feel that kind of pressure? Like, I need to finish this guy and I need to do it on the feet.
Yeah, there's a pressure in itself just being one of the top 100 or 100 or prospects in their eyes, watching you and how you need to perform. There's enough pressure on that. For me, it's not really so much pressure, but it's like, all right, now let's show them what I can do on my feet. Like, I've been knocking people out on my feet. I've been getting stand-up finishes. I was in the last state of mind. It was my ego, like I said in that other interview. It was like I was the better wrestler, and this guy tried to wrestle me. He was a striker. He's talking to the pre-fight interviews about how he's gonna head kick the hell out of me and he's gonna do all these things, and
Mm-hmm.
and then I was beating him on our feet. I was striking with him, and I was out striking him, and then so the striker turned into the wrestler, and that's where I was like, oh, you want to wrestle me? I'm the wrestler, so it's not. It's just, I think it's more of like not letting my ego, take the mic and just let my skills really speak for itself. And last time I didn't really have that good of a dancing partner. This time we watched plenty of film on Ramazan, and he looks like a really good dance partner. We're gonna have a really good show. It's he does some wrestling in some of his fights, but he's mainly a stand up striker. So I think if all goes as well, I'm getting that I see these getting a first or third round finish on this guy. And I don't really need. There's not really extra pressure on me letting my hands go and just stay keeping on the feet. I just do what I have been learning to do, and just like let myself show how good I am. So it's not. Yeah, I'm not really worried about taking it to the ground or not. And then if it does happen to go to the ground, I'm gonna make the most out of that. Like last time I did review my fight, it was a 5 day notice. So I came in there 5 days notice. So I was trying to wear him out. I was being smart as of more flashy. I was being smart, like wear him down, get him to feel how I'm feeling, because I'm nervous. It's 5 day notice fight. So let's just try to get his gas tank on the level of mine's at. But so this time I have a full gas tank, I had a full training camp, and really I feel comfortable with my skills and ability right now.
How big of an advantage for you over your dance partner Ramazan is it to have already experienced this kind of situation? Because the Contender Series is a very unique situation, and it has a very unique feel to it in that it's got that big time UFC production and feel, but it's in front of a very small crowd, which is very quiet, and you can hear almost everything while the action's going, and all the while Dana White, Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard are all sitting there. Like, how big an advantage that you've already done this? You've already got all those jitters out of the way. Is it for you? Do you feel over Ramazan?
Yeah, I feel like part of that is it is an advantage. It's great. I already went there. I already did my thing. And my coaches has been reminding me like, yo, dude, you came in here on a 5 day fight notice, and you came in there and you stole that night from that other guy. Like, just remember, now you got a full training camp. You are well ready to be on the show. You deserve to be in UFC. You're ready. And besides having my coach tell me that I do have those feelings that you are, I did compete on the show last year, and I did show up. I did win, and he hasn't been there before. That's gonna be a lot of pressure on him. I feel like as it was for me. But at the same sense, I feel like when you're in the UFC, say you get called on a 5 day fight notice, and you're just like, hey, here's a 3 to 4 fight contract because you're stepping in on late notice, and you're already guaranteed 3 to 4 fights after this in the UFC Octagon. There's like the pressure's kind of like it's a different type of pressure. Now it's a pressure to prove that you belong at where you're already at. For me, for this situation, nothing's guaranteed yet. So there's still that pressure to where, yeah, I have been in there. I've been under the lights, but also there's nothing guaranteed. I'm still to go out there and act like my whole dream, my whole purpose, my whole fight life is on the line, because it still is. Like, nothing's guaranteed in this show. It's a single UFC fight contract.
Because I'm glad you talked about things like the pressure and feeling like everything is online, because I just transitioned right into the next question I had, which is this, is this the most pressure, the biggest fight by far of your career, and it has a little weight to it? Or do you feel like you feel confidence in yourself? Yes, this is tough. If you don't get this, you probably don't get into the UFC, but you've been on the Bellator, do you feel, okay, you don't want to put too much on it because you feel you're still good enough? You feel that you will be on a big stage in the near future for multiple fights, so do you not want to put too much and have that mental drain, or are you putting a mental drain and you fight better like that?
It's a perfect give and take in that question. I still put pressure on myself, like, this is, because every fight I feel like this is the fight of your life. You gotta come out there feeling like this is the win, but this really is the fight of my life, and so I hold that mentality in my mind until I start to feel a little bit overwhelmed, and then I start drawing it back like, hey man, like man, remember you're the shit. So it's like it's like you want to push yourself and tell yourself that like, hey, this is a big deal. You got to put everything into this. You want
Hmm.
to every step. People are counting the underdog. You want to tell yourself that all like the whole time until you start to feel a little bit overwhelmed, and then you step back and be like, hey man, like pressure makes diamonds. This is what we came here to do. Like this
Hmm.
feeling, this heavy heart feeling, is the feeling why we're in this game. So that question is like I believe I keep a healthy amount of pressure on myself, but when I start putting too much pressure on myself, then I just started to remind myself of why I've gotten this opportunity and why in the first place.
Talk to me about your diabetes, because that's a story. That's a big story of your life, which I read you found out about 9 years ago. For the people that only have a basic understanding of diabetes, because I really don't have a strong understanding. I want you to inform me and give me some knowledge on it. Talk to me about like what makes type 1 that you have different than other types, and how it affects you on a daily level, and why being an advocate for it and the success you can get, and your success can bring further advocacy, why it's important to you.
Right. So first, the difference between type 1 and type 2 is type 1 is hereditary based, where you get diabetes. It sparks later on in life because of
Mm.
lack of knowledge, diet. I mean, I was in shape. I always ran. I always
Yeah.
did workouts. I did not get diabetes from lack of exercise, but I do feel like lack of dietary knowledge did help spark
Mm.
it at the age of 19. I mean, we're like in high school, we would after a track meet or after football practice or after some sort of sporting event, the bus would stop. We all of us would stop and get fast food somewhere, which is not a good replenishing
Yeah.
meal after doing a vigorous workout,
A
right?
total teenager thing to do,
But type two, right? Exactly. So the difference between type 1 and type 2, besides that it's hereditary, and besides the fact that type 2 is from life choices and lack of
Mm.
exercise and lack of dietary necessities, getting those nutrients, especially magnesium in your diet,
Mhm.
is type 1 is where your body doesn't produce any insulin at all. Like in lymph
Wow.
nodes in my pancreas, my pancreas is so inflamed to where the lymph nodes stopped producing insulin.
Wow.
And type 2 is where there's so much fat or in the way where your body becomes insulin resistant.
Wow.
So where your body just it's the normal amount of insulin that it's producing, still producing it, but the normal amount it's producing is not enough.
Mm.
So they give you metformin to help you release more or help that the insulin you are releasing is an effective amount. Whereas type 1, my body doesn't make any insulin at all. I need to do self injections every day, every meal
Wow.
to make sure that the blood sugar crystals. So there's sugar crystals that run through your bloodstream, and what the insulin does is it breaks down those sugar crystals so that where the blood can travel to all the parts of your body without hurting them.
Mm.
So without it, you have large crystals of sugar that are running around in your bloodstream, and it's serrating and shredding the inside of your body from the inside out. So
Mm.
that's why it's considered also an autoimmune disease.
So,
And as far
yeah.
as the second part of the question is, like, what it means to me, like, to be doing this,
Right.
it's been like this motion or this movement of me being a fighter, it's bigger than me. I get messages all the time from people trying to just telling me like, hey man, like I just thank you, man. The doctors have been telling me my whole life that I can't do this. I can't play football. I can't. This little girls telling me they can't play tennis. It's like it brought tears to my eyes. And this little girl, I did a speech at at the American Diabetes Association, and she was just like, she was holding one of my championship belts, and she was just like, "You did this?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like this is your belt. Like
Yeah.
you fight. I'm like, "Yeah, I fight. This is my belt. These are my belts." And like yeah, I won these. And she was like, I could just see the blueprints of what she was able to do in her life changing, because she was told, just like me, early in her life, that she couldn't even play tennis or volleyball,
Mm.
and because it's careful, and like really reconsider going a different route or just changing her life purpose or dream. And I could just see the mapping of her expectations of her life change to where she's like, I can do this type of stuff. Like
Mm.
this guy's over here fighting, and so, I am gonna do this. I am gonna do that. And it was just a beautiful thing to see, her level of confidence change. So that's really my main motion, is not only obviously to make fame and fortune off this. I mean, come on, we live in a capitalist society, and we have a little bit of ego. So I mean, yeah, I want to get my name out there and be known as one of the greats. But really, this motion is bigger than me, to where I want a lot of people to know that I'm a walking example of just keep on pushing, just keep on fighting for your dream. And no matter how uncomfortable or how um, much struggle it might be to chase it,
Mhm.
because it's the feeling that you get once every fight is a win, that it just feels so rewarding. It just acknowledges that what I'm doing is right, and
Mhm.
that this focus is bigger than me and my wants. I gotta do this to help make sure other people are doing out there and doing what they want to do.
Now, the fascinating other thing from the Contender Series fight, for the people that may not be aware of it, is the win was overturned because of the you tested positive for marijuana, but you used the marijuana for your pancreas. And I don't smoke marijuana. I'm totally for legalization, and you have to do it as a professional
Mhm.
athlete for medical reasons, as understandable as any person. How frustrating is it to have to be a fighter with that particular condition, with a clear medical reason that is legal in many places? How frustrating is it to do that, to work around that? You have to avoid a lot of states and stuff like that, and also along with your advocacy for getting the word out on diabetes and those kind of stuff. Do you Is its advocacy for marijuana legalization or something you've gotten into or want to get into?
Oh, I would definitely want to get into that. I mean, but I'm like, first off, it pisses the hell out of me. I mean, yeah, I have a valid reason. I have doctors sign out to where it's a legit medicine for me.
Hmm.
But and it's not UFC's fault. I'm not tainting their name or their credit on this.
Right.
It's what it is. It's the
Yep.
commission's rules that they have to follow, because they have to follow federal law and
Hmm.
federal for the even though in the state of Nevada it's legalized, but
Hmm.
in the state of or in the state of the nation it's not. And so that's
Mm.
where that area comes in between, is because it's legal for the Nevada State Commission, but for the government, it's considered a federal offense, or it's a Schedule 1 narcotic. So it's
Hmm.
like they don't like. I'm sure like they don't. I'm sure UFC doesn't even care. They, like they probably know that a lot of the fighters do it, and like that's why a lot of the fighters are healthy, because they're not getting addicted to opioids or all these other stuff, and they're instead they turn to a flower. So
Mm.
I don't think that it's a UFC at all. I think it's just that they're stuck in a limbo state where they have to bend over and follow the rules of government. But hopefully, yeah, that changes that. And at the same on that same note, I would love to be an advocate to promote marijuana. They have my promotion. I mean, I love that. And as far as me going out and being pissed and going on stuff, like I'm still at a point where I don't want to have that emotion like destroy my career. So I gotta be smart about what I say and how hard I say it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I definitely don't think that marijuana is a bad thing. And I believe and I know in a heart that that's why I'm still able to do what I do today.
So I always like to end conversations on finding out just more about the person and what they like to do that has nothing to do at all with fighting. Obviously, You smoke marijuana, but you do it for medical reasons. But it's not too bad on a side level too. Has some good things. What do you like to do that has nothing to do with fighting? What's some of your personal passions? Are you a big gamer? Are you a big movie fan? You love music. You love to cook. You have a stamp collection. You're a bottle cap collector. It's something that will make people go, "Whoa, Jordan's into that." That's actually pretty cool.
You know what? I I like to draw a little bit. I mean, I grew up. I love
Oh.
drawing. Haven't drewn that much. I actually drew out a couple of the ideas for a couple of tattoos that I have. So
Oh,
like, and I was
nice.
able to give drawings to my tattoo artist. He's one of my sponsors, and he's been able to recreate that and help do that. But as far as right now, man, I really I haven't. I don't really even have time for hobbies right now. I got this new dog. I'm chasing a dream, right?
Yeah.
And I have this new puppy dog. He's 9 months old. Little pit bull, cutest dog you ever see.
Uh-huh.
Nicest dog you'll ever meet. And I've just been like, taking him. I like to go on hikes, but mainly like my outdoor activity has been based along with about him where he can go. He
Hmm.
can't really go that far on hikes yet before he overheats and he gets tired, and I'm like carrying him back. But I go longboarding with him. We're training. We're training right now to help get his pulling his strength down, and like we'll go longboarding. I'll get on my longboard, and
Yeah.
he'll pull me. He'll try to pull me